Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas and this is how to create an RPG in Unity, and welcome to episode 37. In this tutorial we're going to work on our scene flow, so we're going to have a little bit of fading between the two scenes, and we're going to focus on starting to create a puzzle inside our cave. Don't forget, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial still to come in this series, and indeed everything else on my channel. With that in mind, let's get to work. So at this moment in time, when we go to our entrance to the cave here, we just go straight to the scene. So I want to kind of change that a little bit, and I just want to have a quick fade out, so it's a little bit more natural. And then obviously the new scene will fade in. So I'm going to go to our dungeon trigger and open up the open world to dungeon script in Visual Studio. So all this will mean that we need to do is add in an extra variable. And once we've done that, we'll need to use a coroutine because we're going to be controlling time just a little bit. So we'll need to use that coroutine to initiate the transfer to the separate scene. Because if we don't do that, we'll just go straight away and the fading won't actually occur and it'll just look a little bit silly. So on the flip side of that, we're also going to take the fade in animation that we've already done and place it in the cave scene, or dungeon, or whatever we're going to call it from now on. Once we've done that, we are then going to start looking at that puzzle. So, open world to dungeon. And currently, if you remember, we have it where it just says enter dungeon, and when we do, it takes us to this right here. So, firstly, let's go to the top and add in public game object, and we'll have fade out, semicolon. And here where we've got the load scene, I'm going to take these lines of code, cut them out, and I'm going to type in fade out dot set active true, semicolon. And next line down, I'm going to have start coroutine, and in brackets, let's call our coroutine something useful. Transfer scene, open close bracket, semicolon. Obviously at the moment, because we haven't written that coroutine, this will remain underlined in red. So now let's write that coroutine. Let's go to the bottom just before the final close curly bracket, and we'll have a numerator, transfer scene, open close bracket, open curly bracket, and in here we're going to have yield return new, wait 4 seconds. I'm just going to have 2 for now, semicolon. And before that line of code, let's paste what we cut out previously. And this scene manager.load scene and the annotation, let's cut them from here and place them after the yield, and then save the scene. So what's happening here is when we enter the dungeon, we're going to start our fade out, start the coroutine at the same time. So both action display and action text disappear. We wait 2 seconds for the fade out to occur, and then we load that scene. So let's head back into Unity. We just need it to compile just there for a second. And when it's done, we just need to drag and drop the variable over here. Still thinking about it. There we go. So let's go to our canvas and let's have fade out dragged over here. And while we're at it, before we go any further, let's save that scene. And then let's take fade in. So copy fade in. And then let's go to our second scene, which is area 02. And in here, let's paste fade in and place it inside the canvas. And then, oh, we already have it. How good is that? We don't even need to copy it over. So let's get rid of that one we just copied and activate fade in. Obviously, we're going to need a starting script as well at some point because the fade in will have to disappear, but we can get around to that. It's not a problem at all. So I'm going to save that scene, head back to area 1, and now let's test this out. We should be able to encounter that fade out, scene switch, fade in. So let's press play and try it out. So I'm going to run all the way over to our cave, jump a little bit, because why not? Because I can. And let's enter the cave. There we go. So the fade out, we got the fade in there. So you'll notice that the mini map and our health bar actually stayed on the screen while it was fading. I can't actually remember if I've mentioned this previously, but whatever order it is in the canvas is whatever is on top. So at this point, it is probably a very good idea to have fade in and fade out down the bottom, meaning they'll be rendered on top of everything else. So I'm going to save that, head to area 2, do the exact same with the canvas here, fade in, fade out, bring them to the bottom, save once again, head back to area 1, and let's press play and quickly check this out one more time, just so as it looks how it should do. So once this is done, we are going to head to the second scene, and we're just going to start with a simple puzzle because, you know, it's early in the game. So it's going to just be like a bit of a colour puzzle, so we'll have to do a switch or something. So enter dungeon. There we go. Perfect. So that scene flow works just nicely now. It's pretty good. You can work with it a little bit more. You can alter it, edit it, do a little bit more. It's entirely up to you. So area 002. Let's sort the scene out a little bit more. Let's head to bucket because that's where we have the zoom in. This is our scene right here. So for all intents and purposes, the wall that we have here, I'm not going to use this. I'm actually going to modify this a little bit, I think. I think it'd be easier to use a cube, if I'm honest, just because it gives me a little bit more freedom. I want it to be like a mazy kind of dungeon. That's what I'd like to aim for at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to game object, 3D object, cube, and let's just have this simply as wall 001. Again, you don't have to do what I do. It is entirely up to you if you want to do the same as me. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the material that is on wall A. In this case, it is bricks, and apply it to the cube. See what I did there? I actually dragged bricks here onto this cube right here. So we don't have to find this material anywhere. We can actually drag and drop it onto there, no problem. So now let's shape this wall. Let's have the scale on the X as, let's have it as 6. Let's have it as, in fact, let's have 6 tall and see what it looks like as a square. That should do the trick. So I'm going to get rid of those previous walls. I'm going to use my snap settings to bring this into place. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give the impression that it is a ladder that has brought us down into this scene. So I'm going to take my wall, hold Control, press D, duplicate, bring it over to there. Remember, it's all snapped together now using the snap settings. So I'm going to take both of them, move them over. Let's check where our player actually is. So basically what we're doing here is we're starting to design all of this area. So it does look a little bit better than, well, so as it looks like a dungeon or a cave. So what we're going to do now is have some ladders that give the impression of we've just come down those ladders. So let's go to our search bar in the assets and type in ladder. And if you've got the same assets as what I have, we got in the, was it last tutorial or tutorial before? You should have a ladder as well. So I'm going to use that to give the impression that we've just come down the ladder. Probably increase the size on the Y to make it a little bit taller, maybe 1.5. That should do the trick. And bring it down a little bit. So that's going to be our way out eventually anyway. So next thing I'm going to do is let's build a quick section using some cubes down here to give the impression of a hallway. So I'm going to take that wall, hold Control, press D, rotate by 90, align it here and align it with the rest of the wall. Now you can see how quickly I'm doing this. Once you get the skill of being able to design something so quickly, you can easily just change things so quickly and fast, and you can have a design in your head and you can manipulate the objects to quickly create that design that you want. Occasionally you will get little gaps like that. All you can do to clear that is just create a wall behind. To be honest, it's probably wise, especially creating a dungeon of this caliber, i.e. a maze type, that you always do something like this, because we can easily use the other side of this wall as a separate section of the dungeon. So rather than just be confined to areas that may not necessarily be perfect, you can actually reuse each side of this particular object. Also worth noting that whatever the camera doesn't see doesn't necessarily matter. And what I mean by that is, don't spend too much time trying to perfect things that you just simply waste time with. Like, for example, behind here now, there's no point trying to fix anything we do here. We may as well have glitching walls or whatever, because the camera is never going to see behind here. So don't worry about it too much at all. Now, another neat little trick that we can use is, rather than have this wall duplicated to go this way, we can actually modify this wall and extend it and make it 2 walls. So to do that, let's just make each face the same size. So let's change that to 6. And now we've got ourselves a duplicated wall. So we have a corner to go around. So you can see how the design of this dungeon is coming together now. I'm doing it quickly and simply because realistically, it's something that you should create yourself. I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, as it were. I want you to be able to design your own dungeon. I'm going to quickly just modify this a little bit more, so I've got a bit more of a dungeon to work with. And let's have this once again this way, and I'm going to create a wall down this way now, and then we're going to start building our puzzle. So let's put that there, bring the wall down, and bring the wall down again. Now, another note here is that, yes, we do have a lot of objects, but I wouldn't worry about it at all, because Unity can handle many thousands of objects if done correctly. We're not going to have a problem running this on any device at the moment. I mean, ultimately, we probably have a couple of hundred objects in this at any one time. But even mobile devices these days are capable of massive performance, so I wouldn't worry too much about what we're trying to do. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this now to measure, because I want to have a gate here. So I'm going to take that, move it to there, and then delete that. So a gate is going to exist here. So let's see if we can find a gate in our search. Let's see what we can find. Let's have, I'll tell you what, let's have this floor gate. I think we've used it before. Let's not use that one. Is it this one? There we are. So I think we used it before over there. So I'm going to use it again, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the material that's on it. But I'm actually going to change the material. I'm not going to modify this material because that will change this one as well. I want this one to be blue because we're going to have a blue switch that will open this gate. So to do that, we need to find metal B. So let's just search for it. Metal_B. And there is our material. I'm now going to hold Control, press D to duplicate. And it's now called Metal B1. So I'm going to change the albedo to a blue tint. And then I'm going to apply it to this floor gate. So it's floor gate 1 up there. So let's drag and drop. I'm going to rename and call it blue gate, and then drag and drop, or rather drag it down the bottom so we have a little bit more visibility of it. Let's rotate on the Z to 90. In fact, we'll do it -90 so it actually stands up correctly. And let's move it into position round about here. So let's expand it as well so it fits the area a little bit better. So let's use the resizing tool there. So that looks like it should fit quite nicely. So we can see the gate now has a blue tint. It already has a box collider on it, so we're not going to be able to go through it. So now let's design a switch that we can use over here. And we're going to do something really cool with this. So I'm going to save my scene just so as I have everything sorted. And then I'm going to go to Game Object, and let's go 3D Object and Sphere. And then we'll put the sphere into the wall. In fact, you know what? I think we'll shrink it a little bit because it's going to be a bit too big. So 0.4, 0.4, 0.4. Let's bring it out probably to about there. So it's kind of maybe just about center there. There we go. That should do. And I'm going to attach the original Metal B to there. So now we actually have something there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a bit of a switch. So game object and 3D object, and let's have cylinder. Let's go with cylinder. And let's bring that like that. And let's attach it to this. So it's kind of facing upwards. So it looks like a switch that we've got to pull down. To do that, let's make it rather thin. So point 1 is probably too big still. 0.04 by 0.04. Let's decrease the scale to 0.2 maybe. And now let's align it so it kind of fits nicely inside here. So we're just kind of manipulating. We're using general objects to create something that looks kind of cool. Might be best to bring the cylinder into the sphere, zero out the position, and then bring it out of the sphere again, and then let's bring it up, and let's rotate in fact, let's have it about there. And then I'm going to reattach it to the sphere, and I'm going to rotate the sphere to see how that will look as an actual lever, like a switch that we pull down. So let's rotate on the Z. There we go. So that looks like it will do just fine. So I'm going to bring the cylinder down a little bit more to about there. Let's attach the metal B onto there. And I'm going to rename the sphere as blue switch. And finally, I'm going to attach a little dome at the top. Well, say dome, another sphere at the top, which is going to represent the blue color. So on cylinder, right click, 3D object and sphere. And let's bring it up and uncouple it from there. And let's have it as 0.04 by 0.04 by 0.04. Is that too? I think that's too small. So let's go a little bit bigger. 0.07, 0.07, 0.07. And let's attach that blue metal onto there. And then attach that to the cylinder. So now it looks like we actually have a blue switch on the wall. So we're obviously going to have multiple switches because it's only going to be this one that opens that gate, but it's going to be the puzzle. So let's press play and let's check how this looks for our player. Let's just make sure everything is aligned neatly. There we are. Yep, so that looks fine. There's our blue gate. I know it's a little bit crazy now how it looks. Don't worry about the lighting, we'll get that sorted. Final thing we're going to do is let's get ourselves ready to actually turn this into a puzzle. So let's get this animation working. So let's go to our animations folder, right click, create folder, and let's have this as Dungeon 01. And let's go into there, make sure we're on the blue switch, and animation, create. We'll have this as switch down anim. And then let's set that first keyframe. And the first keyframe obviously is going to be the rotation on the Z. That's all it's going to change. So let's type 1 on the rotation for Z and type 0 again to set that first keyframe. And let's rotate it over a second. So 60 frames. So by the 60th frame, we want the rotation to be about there. And then stop. Let's go back to project. Click on the switch down and untick loop time. And what I'm also going to do is on blue switch, I'm going to turn off the, in fact, let's just press play and just see that if we get to that now, the switch is down. It is indeed down. In fact, what I'll do quickly to make sure we can see it just for now is rotate the directional light so we can see it. So blue switch, I'm going to turn off the animator and then press play. And then when we get to it, let's turn it on so we can see the animation in action. So let's, in fact, if we can get the camera just right, animation, there we are. So that switch is going to work as intended. So, and I know I said that was going to be the last thing, but I'm going to do one more thing before we end this tutorial. I'm going to take that blue switch, hold Control, press D, bring it over here, do it again, bring it over here, and another one, and one more. And now what I'm going to do is the actual material itself. So let's type in the search bar, metal, there's B1. So I'm going to hold Control, press D on B1, and I'm going to give it a red tint. So it's now B2. I'm going to change this to a red tint, and then I'm going to attach it to this one. And then let's duplicate it again, and let's have a yellow tint, shall we? Let's have yellow. I'm going to attach it to this one. But it didn't really work, did it? Let's try again. Yellow tint. And let's have a green tint. So green onto that one. And let's have one more on this one. And let's have a purple tint. Or a pinky purple. So now we have coloured switches on the walls, and obviously it's the blue one that's going to open it. And just to show you this in action now, I'm going to go to each of these switches, and let's have a quick look at each one working. So I'm on the blue switch, just trying to get the camera right for you guys to see. There we go, there's that one. Now let's do the second one. Turn the animator on. So you can see each one, although not named correctly just yet, every time we turn the animator on, we can see the switches all changing. Let's do the last one. Perfect. So we're setting ourselves up for this puzzle to work now. So let's change this to red switch. Change this to yellow switch. And the next one is a green one. And finally, the purple switch. So, we'll leave that tutorial there for now. Feel free to start building up your dungeon to actually make it look a bit more dungeony, more so than what mine currently does. Next tutorial, I think I'm going to put a bit of a roof on this so we can work with the atmosphere inside here. But the main focus is getting that blue switch to open our gate for the first little puzzle. So, until the next tutorial, guys. Thank you very much for watching.